Hello, everyone, and welcome to Week 13 of college football. Only 1 week left after this week of regular season play. We've got some great matchups this weekend, so let's visit with James and see what's in store.
Visit your local Toyota dealers today. Toyota, let's go places.
What's going on, world? It's your boy at Big Game James _36, and I'm here with Greg McGarity, and this is the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl Drive to Selection Show presented by Toyota, where each and every week we go over the landscape of college football as it pertains to the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl played here in Jacksonville, Florida on December 27th, 7:30 p.m. on ABC. Yet you will be in the stands watching two of the best teams in the land be able to compete for the opportunity to again, advance their careers, whether it be jumpstart next year or, as we've seen the last few years, be able to put themselves on a big enough stage to be able to play in the National Football League. What's going on, Greg? How you doing today?
You know, Week 12 was wacky, and, Week 13 and 14 are going to be just as crazy. So it's going to be another great weekend of college football.
One of the only things that's guaranteed is that the unpredictable will happen, and that's why college football will always be one of the best variations of the sport on display. What was some of the things in Week 12 that we kind of watched, that we saw? What were some of the games that kind of affected the brackets and the things that we'll talk about later in the show?
Well, Virginia solidified their case to be in the ACC championship game by eliminating Duke, and with Georgia Tech winning barely at BC. Those two teams had the inside track and really should be in Charlotte for the ACC championship game. And then on the SEC side, some clarity was provided a little bit with Georgia and Texas, but really Oklahoma's win over Alabama and Tuscaloosa really muddied the water. So as we'll see in a few minutes, it's not very clear, and so it's going to come down, I'm convinced, to Week 14 to see how things shake out.
Let's go. Before we can't skip a week. Let's go into Week 13. What are some of the matchups that we're going to see in this coming week that that fans should be watching and just be tuned into?
Well, I would focus on Pitt and Georgia Tech. Pitt has two. They've only got one loss. So if they run the table, they've got to beat Pitt and Georgia Tech in Miami, which they can do. They didn't show very well against Notre Dame last weekend. But that's going to be a big game to follow and see how that goes. Virginia is off, so I would really focus on that game in the ACC. And then the SEC, there's a lot of non-conference play. Georgia and Alabama play non-conference. A&M plays a non-conference opponent. But you've got Arkansas at Texas, and as we'll see in a little while, Texas is down in the rankings a good bit with their 3 losses this year. Kentucky at Vandy, I think, is a dangerous game because Kentucky's playing better. Can they spoil Vanderbilt's season? And then really a game that really kind of speaks to historical nature. Both teams that aren't really performing to their expectations. Tennessee at Florida. So those are the impact games this week, and I'm sure they'll be exciting as well.
Okay, well, the one thing that came out every week since the last couple of weeks is the college football playoff ranking. And the college football playoff ranking directly affects what we have here with the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl, as those are the top teams that kind of go up, and we obviously cannot select those. More than likely it'll be 3 to 4 from the SEC, 2 including Notre Dame, potentially from the ACC. So let's talk about these rankings and what stands out to you, and then even maybe trying to help people talk about predicting kind of the future with people who probably are here but should not be here.
Well, as I see things, to see Alabama drop 6 spots is pretty telling that a team can drop that far with 1 loss. And what's also interesting is the Miami-Notre Dame dynamic. As was explained last night, which I know it left a lot of people kind of dumbfounded, but the head-to-head obviously is in Miami's favor, but the losses that Notre Dame's had are better than the losses that Miami had, but they're so close together, so I don't know where that's going to end up, but as you'll see on this chart, Miami is there just as a placeholder, because more than likely they will not be in the ACC championship game, and let's assume Georgia Tech and Virginia are. You don't see them on the left-hand side, but they would fill that spot for the ACC. So the only way Miami can get in, I think, is to be in the top 10. Does that mean they can jump Alabama and Notre Dame? who knows? But let's see how they play. But you got some interesting. Tulane entered the picture as far as the group of 5 best team there. You've got some interesting matchups. Like I said, Alabama moved down to number 10, so they would have to go on the road to Oregon. Oregon's got a big game at Southern Cal, so there are a lot of things. The one thing for sure is this is going to change. We know that in some form or fashion going into next weekend. But a lot of things at play, and pay careful attention to the first team and the second team out, because if there are some bobbles there, they're next to that line, because you got to get the top 10 essentially, because I don't think a group of 5 or an ACC team is going to be in the top 10 unless they have Miami jumping Notre Dame at some point in time.
And so just even looking at this list, Texas Tech, even though they did lose a game that probably shouldn't have lost earlier, one more loss and they're out. Again, BYU or Utah will probably more than likely face them in the Big 12 championship, because that championship game still means a lot.
Right.
Notre Dame wins out, looks like they're pretty much in. Miami, as we just said, they just need some help. But there's some teams that are vying for position. Like you said, Pitt, Miami has to see them, and then Miami still has to face.
They got to go to Pitt at the end of the year, and they have Virginia Tech.
Well, and Virginia Tech's, they had a nice win against last year, but Virginia Tech's still trying to leverage. Now they got some kids with a little bit more motivation, playing for a coach that's getting to watch them. Cold weather in Miami don't always mix, so that game should be funny. That's why I always told the ACC teams, you do realize we have some Big Ten-ish in us already, because it could be snowing for all we know in Pitt. But this kind of leads us to what the next thing is, and again, what we want all of you guys to be able to recognize: how can you pick better than the experts for the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl? So let's talk about. So we have the college football playoff for the ACC side. Notre Dame counts, so that takes one out of our pool play as of right now, unless they lose. And the ACC champion, which is, we were just talking about, that could be Virginia, could be Georgia Tech, could be Pitt, could be any of those. That's still into play. Before we get over to the SEC, this is a pretty big pool to pull from. What is it? Not all these teams are going to be able to come to the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl. And is there an outside chance that I could turn the Gator Bowl into the world's largest outdoor cocktail party by having Florida State come into the game?
No, I don't think that's possible, because what has to happen is the ACC goes by total number of wins. Okay. And so with Miami, Georgia Tech, Virginia, with their win total, then you've got to add a team maybe with 9 wins. So you have to have at least 8 wins to be in the pool, our premium pool between San Diego, Orlando, and Jacksonville. So, it's a long shot for others, but I don't see that happening for ACC teams that have 6 wins or 7 wins. In the case of FSU, even if they won their last 2 games, they'd have 7 wins, which would not be enough wins to get in the premium pool.
Teams that couldn't come, Clemson couldn't come here, Duke couldn't come here.
Right.
But everybody else is eligible to be able to come. So should be a good group of teams to be able to come here, experience Jacksonville, Florida, one of the best bowl games out there. Obviously, out means you're out of it. But in Florida State, they can go duck for the last 2 games and be out of it. There's still some teams that could be here, but currently they're in contention. Going over to the SEC, we just saw the thing, and there's still a lot of battles. There's still some games that could shake that up. But one of the things that we mentioned in last week's show, there's a eligible. Actually, I guess with Florida, with the ACC, could they have too many teams? Is there such thing as having too many teams in your bowl commitments?
Well, they could be fed into bowls that maybe not have commitments from their other conference arrangements or some independent games. So there'll probably be a place for all of them. It may not be under one of the contracted bowls for the ACC. But I think there's an opportunity for them, certainly, if they get to 6 games. They're going to go bowling some place. We just don't know where right now.
Now, over here in the SEC, is there's an opportunity that they may not have enough teams to meet their bowl commitment.
Right. Those teams, right now with 5 teams up and 6 teams out of play, in other words, they're not going to have 6 wins if things flesh out like they're supposed to. That just leaves 5 teams to fill 7 bowl spots, because you've got the Citrus Bowl, which has the first pick, and then you've got our group of 6. And so 2 of those, more than likely, I'm not sure who they would be, more than likely Memphis. I'm not sure the protocol there, but we're going to be fine. I know we'll be fine, but there'll be some anxious moments on there, because 2 bowls would not have an SEC representative because of SEC teams not having 6 wins. Now, you got 2 or 3 teams that can get there. Auburn can get there if they win this weekend and upset Alabama. Kentucky, if they can beat Louisville or beat Vandy this weekend. And then you've got Auburn, if they beat Alabama, they'll move up to this in pool. But again, usually how it works, the SEC is going to give the teams that have the best SEC record kind of a choice or a preference where they'd like to go. And we know where everybody wants to go in December, the state of Florida. Right. So you're right, there may not be enough teams to fill, but one other thing, James, I think in the future this number is going to get larger as far as the teams that don't win 6 games, because the SEC goes to 9 games, conference games next year, which means 8 teams are going to have a loss. And instead of scheduling a team that you're supposed to win, you now have another conference opponent. So they're going to be 8 teams instead of maybe a guaranteed win that they would have from a scheduling model. Half of those teams are not going to have that. So that number, in my mind, is going to grow.
And Mississippi State still has Ole Miss, correct?
Correct.
So if Mississippi State beats Ole Miss, that puts them back up into that pool.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that would be a hell of a parlay. Mississippi State beating Ole Miss, Auburn beating Alabama, because that's all they would have to do. And then Kentucky beating a tough Vanderbilt, as well as a Louisville team, 2 teams that are going bowling. I don't know what the plus would be, but you probably would make some good money. So those are the things. But but here's the thing. What we do know is December 27th at 7:30 p.m. in Jacksonville, Florida, there will be a game played with 2 really, really good teams. Now, if you're here locally in Jacksonville, or if you just want to see a good bowl and you have one of those dreams that I have one day to go see a bowl game, every game during the college football bowl season, get your tickets now. If you get your tickets now, it's way cheaper than when we actually select those teams. So I encourage you to go buy tickets now. But each and every week, me and Greg McGarity will be here to tell you about how the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl is going to be picked and how the college football landscape is played on the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl Drive the Selection Show presented by Toyota. We'll see you guys next time.
Visit your local Toyota dealers today. Toyota, let's go places.
Welcome back for another week of Off the Field. It is so sad we are winding down to the end. And as y'all know, Gator Bowl Charities program doesn't stop just because football season stops. So be sure to check us out on social media so you can see what we get up to throughout the rest of the year when it's not football season. But we do have a lot of programs happening right now. We talked last week a little bit about our Member Blitz campaign. We are doing a campaign to benefit Blessings in a Backpack, North Florida chapter. They are an incredible nationwide charity, and they provide food on the weekends for kids who are on free and reduced lunch during the week. So we are doing a campaign with them. We've challenged our members to raise funds for 500 bags, and then we're going to pack them here in a couple weeks and write a little note for all of them. So if you want to get involved, it is a girls versus boys competition. I believe the girls are losing to the boys in the fundraising right now. So the Gridiron Gentlemen are beating the Bold Ladies. So ladies, it's time to step it up. But if you want to contribute to that, there's a link below. Another great fundraising opportunity and a way that we give back is through our Send a Child to the Game program presented by ViStar Credit Union. We have done this program for oodles of years, longer than I've been around. Through the program, we are able to invite kids and families from all across Northeast Florida to the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl at no cost to them. We have about 1,200 local youth that come every year through different nonprofits. They get their full game day experience taken care of thanks to our generous donors and sponsors. So they get transportation, whether that's a bus or parking pass. They get a pregame meal thanks to our awesome partners at Chick-fil-A Jacksonville. a t-shirt that they get to keep, and then of course their game ticket. So it is $75 to underwrite one child's experience. I think we all have an incredible game day memory from when we were a kid, and this is able to let them create that memory. So $75, or you can sponsor a bus of 40 for $3,000. There will be a link down below as well if you want to do that. And then the last thing, I'm gonna just you can start training for it. The Bank of America 5K benefits Gator Bowl charities. It is happening on, let me make sure I'm not wrong, on New Year's Eve this year. So it's gonna happen after the game. It's here in downtown Jacksonville. So if you are a runner or a walker, we encourage you to come out for that on New Year's Eve, finish the year strong, and benefit Gator Bowl charities while you're at it. So we'll have a link also below if you wanna register for that. We look forward to talking to you a couple more times before team selection. We're really looking forward to finding out who will play in this year's TaxSlayer Gator Bowl, but for now, we'll see you next week.